Hello and welcome back to PopCulture X running through VOB's Retus, and we are at Kawani. So far we're fucking loving what we've had. I think it's
Yes.
going to be a running theme for this album.
Yeah. We do
So
curate the albums we do a bit, don't we? I mean, we have tended to go for bands that either we know or bands that we've heard good things of. Um, but I'm pleased to say that so far this is keeping up our good run of album reactions. And I think one of the things that's becoming more apparent to me as we go through this is the thickness of the content. Um,
yes,
so much so that I get lost quite a bit in like listening to him, and afterwards, I'll say funk about a million times, but it's just so much going on, and I guess there are arguments out there that there are bands throughout the annals of time that have tried to do something like this where they are trying to integrate so much, but sometimes it becomes a hodgepodge mess.
yes,
Whereas what is so difficult about I think what they are managing to do so far on this album is do it seamlessly, and I'm sure with a lot of effort, but it feels seamless. So hats off to them. I
yes.
don't have a
So
hat, so there's a lie there. You do, yeah, yeah.
so shall we get our Kawani on?
Yeah, and I believe that this is instrumental. So after going on so much in the last few about how great the vocal performance and the lyrics are, like probably none of that on this one. But let's do this. Go on then. What do you think of that?
Well, I may have a contender for best metal instrumental up there with Metallica's Orion and some of the Mastodon stuff for like that. It hit all the things that a good instrumental should have. It's got heavy bits, it's got some brutal speed in there. It then breaks down into some sort of classical style parts with especially with that sort of bass run, which reminds me a lot of Orion, because obviously that's where Cliff Burton, in Metallica, when he was in Metallica and was alive, he was obviously classically trained and sort of brought all that sort of classical music part into it.
Yep.
And it stinks of that. It stinks of they've gone. We love what Mastodon do, what Metallica do, what all these bands that do these sort of epic instrumentals. Here's our version, inspired by it. Because the thing is, none of it's a rip off. None of it's a bit where they've gone, oh, we've literally just nicked that from X, Y, or Z and
Yeah.
reprocess it. They, you just can clearly see where they've taken the inspiration of we should have a bit that's a little bit like this, or we should have a bit where we do that sort of thing. And I fucking love this.
I think what kind of stood out for me, to touch on what you're saying there, is this felt like a instrumental tour of the best stylings of rock and metal for a long time, put into a melting pot, but not just spat out, but pulled out into something quite remarkable, I think. But whilst taking me on a tour of that, I felt like it was taking me on a bit of a world tour as well. You know, there's lots of bits in there that um, feels like at certain points I feel like I'm suddenly in kind of South or Central America with it, and then there's other parts where I think I'm playing in stylings such as kind of the stuff that we've been experiencing recently from a lot of the Japanese bands we're doing, back to the States, into the UK, into Indonesia, I presume. So I imagine there's kind of a lot that I just didn't pick up from that part of the world because, you know, look, this is my first experience of Indonesian music, and you know, I do like an instrumental, but sometimes they're just used as make weights, aren't they? They're kind of a transition point. This didn't feel like it for a bit of music that had no lyrics or vocals. It felt like it was packed full of punch that you don't
Yeah.
always get from an instrumental. You sort of said about like a contender for the favorite instrumental, and I did say I was going to stop saying this is my favorite track on the album. I this already after one listen is a massive contender for me for song of the year when we do our song of the years for that, like the reacts at the end of the year. And when I say song of the year, that is song from any era, isn't it? It's just anything we've done on the
Yeah.
reacts channel. But
Anything
I've
that's
had a few,
new.
yeah, I've had a few moments this year where I've heard some tracks from both new and old that I have thought have been exceptional. This is exceptional. I didn't want it to end. And you know, I've said this on a few of the tracks, but often you do, don't you? Often songs are that they are what they are, and you know, the
Yeah.
genius sometimes is getting it perfectly right. But I, sign me up for this being done live, but it actually running for 15, 20 minutes, because I think there's even more in this. And again, I wouldn't get sick of it at any point. Yeah, hats. I said it in the last one, but hats off to him for this. This is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and you know it's sitting kind of in the middle of the album, but we're reaching pinnacle after pinnacle after pinnacle, aren't we? And yeah,
Yeah.
this has set a new high for me for this album.
The thing is, as I said, it's a trope that lots of bands do is have the instrumental one song in there, and it's usually at the back end of the album, and it's
Yeah,
usually that 8, 9, 10 plus minutes. Especially some of the Metallica ones, they do go long, especially they're like Mastodon as well. but this being 4 minutes fits with the rest of the flow of the album. I think, especially what we've done so far, because nothing is
Yeah.
over 4 minutes. I think everything's sort of 4 minutes and under so far. Just looking at the track listing, the last song goes longer, but I think if you had this go on for 8 minutes or even 6 minutes, I think you might just sort of take the edge off
Not for me.
the. No,
Give
just
me my 20-minute version.
live then, yeah. But I think for the flow of the album, I think it being the same length as everything else just keeps it moving in that way that sort of suits what they're doing, and it sort
Well,
of
to a
gives you that
degree, sorry.
oomph to go into the next run,
Well,
the
it,
back
it
end.
does make me interested to go and what comes after this, which obviously we're going to get to. We are going to do it on here. I excuse butchering of pronunciations here, but Ferda or Ferda, who does vocals and guitar. Um, so stripped out of this song, but I don't think for me it takes away at all from what we've said on all of the stuff we've done of them. Is they're a unit, aren't they?
Yeah,
Like every constituent part is getting, I'm gonna say, equal focus, not necessarily in time and things like that, but the talents of all of them are shining through. And uh, luckily we've found quite a few bands that we can say that for now, and we can do that for and here. But it is slightly apart from what we get in a lot of music in general, isn't it? There's normally a star of the show, isn't there?
yeah.
And it's so nice to actually be able to listen to, react to bands where you go, yeah, they're all superstars here. And if they're not all bringing their A game, it would probably dip quite severely. But there's no need to worry about that because they are. And it's crafting these hyperbole again, but these amazing experiences. There's numerous times during that, and we said about the length of it. It's 4 minutes, and I said I could do a 20-minute version. Even though it is 4 minutes, it felt like longer than 4 minutes in that good way to me. It
Yeah.
felt like I was kind of sucked into that experience, and I stayed in there for a long time. And yeah, brilliant. Need to
Uh,
get a thesaurus for the next few episodes, Chris. I'm running out of positive words because I'm not used to being this positive. It's generally not something I do in my life. But yeah, masterpiece. This one, absolute masterpiece.
so, as always, let us know down there what you think of this. YouTube things, like, subscribe, ring bells, and we'll be back with open brackets, not close brackets, public property very soon. But until then, goodbye.